Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Through My Eyes, A Life with MS. You are listening to Lauren Parrott on the MS&Me Radio Network. We are sponsored and powered by the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network 24/7 internationally. This show is going to be about how to accept living with multiple sclerosis. I was thinking to myself recently that it actually took me about 15 years to truly accept the fact that I'm living with multiple sclerosis. Like mentally. It took me that long to truly accept it, and I'll explain to you as I go along. Even though I've been very open to talking about it, I have been making YouTube videos for almost 10 years, I didn't truly accept it until recently. I'm going to read parts of an article that I found to be really helpful. And I found this article online, and I'm going to explain my story as I go along. This article explains that there are 4 ways to accept living with a chronic illness. The first way to accept living with a chronic illness is allow yourself to grieve. Grieving is not an easy process. And no one just quickly adjusts and then never grieves again. Your grief over your chronic illness is always with you, and oftentimes you will find that you will alternate between acceptance and denial, and you will continue to relive the process over and over again for the rest of your life. Acknowledging that your grief is normal, healthy, and acceptable is the first step in making room in your life for chronic illness. Doing so allows you more control over your health and your ability to manage your disease. For me, I was only 18 years old when I was diagnosed with MS, and I was getting ready to go to college. So getting ready to go to college in itself, graduating from high school and then going to college, that's an incredibly stressful, exciting situation in itself. And then being diagnosed, it was a whirlwind. I don't really remember it all that clearly. I mean, it was kind of, I don't know, it just happened really fast. And I was actually relieved after my diagnosis because it answered questions that I had been having for 2 years. Because I didn't understand why I couldn't run anymore or why I was so tired all the time. And at least those questions were answered for me. But grieving, I I didn't even understand what was happening to me. So I didn't, it's like I didn't even have time to grieve. I was getting ready to go away to college. So MS was like put on the back burner. And as I've gotten older, I understand that grief over your chronic illness is always with you. And oftentimes, you'll find that you will alternate between acceptance and denial. And you will continue to relive this process over and over again. And this just happened to me. Well, it happened to me over the summer. There are so many times where my friends want to do something and I deny the fact that I can't do something because I want to do what my friends are doing. So I deny that I actually don't have the ability. So it was the summertime and my friends, my coworkers, they wanted to start taking walks after lunch. They were like, it'd be a really good idea. We can take a walk. We work in a beautiful neighborhood. And they're like, let's walk and we can, burn some calories and we'll walk our lunch off. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Well, it was really hot and really humid, and I denied the fact that I can't do that. And so I had to stop and tell them, I was like, oh my God, you guys, I am so sorry. Walk ahead of me. I'm going to take at least twice as long as you. So I had to accept the fact that I can't do that. So I accepted it, and my girlfriend, she stayed with me. They actually all did. There were 4 of us. They stayed with me, and I just walked very slowly, and I had to accept the fact that I do have MS, and I do have limitations, and I can't walk as quickly as everyone else when it's really hot and humid. So, this is just a process I think that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. But that's okay. Especially when I surround myself by people who love and support me. And I think that's really important. Okay, so number 2, the second thing in this article, it says that understand that accepting and adapting takes time. Acceptance isn't something that just happens overnight. As you make the changes that your illness requires, you will find that you will become more open to adapting to your new life. Doing so will allow you to become truly aware of your loss. You should take steps to manage your health and think about how your chronic illness will affect you. So I truly started understanding this concept after my relapse in 2007. And I was forced to become more open to adapting to my new life because I had no choice. I had no choice. Like all of us, we don't get to decide, what symptoms we have. We don't get to decide like, well, I don't want that symptom, but I'll have this one. I can deal with this one better. No, like your body will just stop working, and it's very frustrating. But when I had this relapse, I had new symptoms that I had to adapt very quickly. The first one is I have a weak bladder, and I made a YouTube video about this, and I am not embarrassed to talk about anything really, because the fact is I didn't cause myself to get MS. I didn't cause myself to have a relapse. So I didn't cause myself to have bladder issues. It just happened, and it's terrible, but I've learned to live with it. And what I learned is that I can't have too much liquid, period. So like I have to be careful how much liquid I drink, like, and it doesn't matter what kind of drink it is. It can be water, it can be liquor, it can be whatever. It doesn't matter. Beer, wine, you name it, juice, anything. I just have to be careful of how much I drink because my bladder can't hold that much. And when, shortly after my relapse, I was at a hockey game in Detroit. I was at the Joe Louis Arena. Oh, it's so sad. Now it's not going to be the Joe anymore because now it's Little Caesars Arena. I haven't been there yet. But anyways, beside the point. So I was at a hockey game and I was waiting in line to go to the bathroom, but I was going to pee my pants. I looked at the people I was with and I told them, I said, oh my God, I gotta go. And so, long story short, I won't get into the whole thing, but there was a really rude woman who, she wasn't going to let me use the restroom. And she didn't believe that I had MS, or she didn't know what it was. And I was like, I was in tears. I was panicked. And luckily the ladies who worked at Joe Louis Arena, they let me go to the bathroom. So I made it. And I think to myself now, I'm like, I don't know how that woman could have been so rude. What she said to me was, she was like, because I said, I'm sorry, I have MS. I really have to go to the bathroom. And she said to me, she goes, really? She said, then where's your handicap sticker? And when she said that, at this time, nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. And I was about ready to, it's like, I went into a daze. I couldn't respond to her. I couldn't, get angry. I couldn't get mad. I couldn't cry because I had to go to the bathroom. So luckily I got into the stall and I went to the restroom and then came out and then I started crying because that was just a horrible thing. And I think about it now and I'm like, if that woman only knew how hurtful that was for me, like how rude, how ignorant she sounded. I just wonder, I'm like, I wonder what she's like today. Do you think she thought about it for another second? Probably not, but it definitely made me think. I mean, I've always been a sensitive person, but after I went through that situation, it just makes me even more, even more understanding of other people's illnesses and ailments. I would never do that. She was rude. So, okay. Another symptom that I got from this relapse was I have tremors. They were horrible when I was going through my relapse, so much so that I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't walk, I couldn't read, I couldn't hold anything. My hands were so shaky that I couldn't do anything. It was hard for me to eat anything. It was hard for me to drink without spilling, without getting food and liquids all over my shirts. It was bad. But after my relapse, I was on steroids that helped calm my tremors down. And so the tremors, they got a lot better, but I still have them. So I had to learn, it's like I had to learn how to do things all over again. So I have to learn how to hold a cup of coffee, and I learned how to work on the computer. And I thank God because I can still do those things. I still have, I tell this, the people who I'm close to, I'm like, I still have 2 arms, 2 legs, and they're functional, and I am so blessed. I have working eyes. I'm so blessed. So I just take my symptoms and I do my best. I do have tremors and it can be really frustrating, but I absolutely know it can be worse because it was, and it's better. So I've just learned to adapt. And also balance. After my relapse, my balance got really bad. So I have just learned that walls and floors are my friends. They, I rely on them. And, when if you saw me walking, again, I'm very blessed. If you saw me walking down the street, a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice that I have MS. But depending on the weather, depending on my environment, if I had to go up and down a flight of stairs, I definitely rely on walls when I go up and down stairs. So I've just learned floors and walls are my friends. They are very reliable. They're always sturdy and they're always there to help me. Now, okay, back to the article. It said, by expressing anger, worry, and even sadness, you are allowing yourself to perceive the situation and the parts of your life that you feel that you have lost. You may even question why this has happened to you. Who doesn't? I mean, come on. Or you may wonder where you will go from here. Of course, we all do that. Everyone does. But in the end, the final result will always be acceptance. Accept that your feelings towards your loss will not be deep forever, and that you will learn to adjust to changes and manage your disease. Over time, you learn to establish and live with the new routines, and with your newfound flexibility, change becomes easier, and slowly but surely, you are making room for chronic illness. So I talk about it. I mean, you make adjustments because you have to. You don't have a choice. But by accepting those feelings, things just become easier, and they do. They become easier. It's hard. It is so hard. But if you accept it, life becomes easier. So the third thing, this is important. The third thing is said, don't lose yourself. When patients are newly diagnosed, they can feel like the illness takes all their time and energy. That happens because you are trying to work through emotions towards your illness, and you are trying to create a relationship with your disease. You feel as if you are tripping and stumbling as you make sense of your new life, and sometimes that can lead to depression. And to that I say that has happened, I think, to all of us. I started losing myself and became really depressed when I was in my late 20s. And the reason is because I started comparing my life to other people's lives that were around my age. So the majority of my friends and my family members that were around my age, they were getting married, they were having kids, and they were getting these awesome, fabulous jobs. And that was really hard for me. I was super depressed because I dated my high school sweetheart for 10 years. So we broke up. We started dating when I was 16, and we broke up when I was 26. And we broke up because he moved away for a job, and I couldn't leave my family and my doctors, because that's really crucial in my situation. So, when I was single, all of a sudden, my whole life flipped upside down. I didn't know what to do. And I thought, I'm like, oh my God, I'm 26 years old. So I'm supposed to get married, right? That's what everyone else is doing. That's what my friends are doing. And everyone was like on LinkedIn, you see everyone has these awesome jobs and they're getting promotions and they switch jobs, and I wasn't doing that. I've worked at the same job since 2008, but I'm really happy at my job. I have wonderful coworkers, so it doesn't matter that I'm not a multimillionaire, because I am, living well with multiple sclerosis, and I'm able to work full time. And some people are not. So again, I am very grateful. I'm very thankful for that. But this was really hard for me. It was just a really hard time. And so I'm 26 and I'm single, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to start dating. And I was like, everyone else is getting married. I need to find a new boyfriend. I have to get married. It's like, oh my God, I'm almost 30. Everyone is married and they have kids. And I continued to think to myself, where am I going to find my future husband? That is seriously what I thought. And I would always be like, maybe I'll meet him here, or maybe I'll meet him at this party, or maybe I'll meet him at this networking event. And that like totally consumed my mind. Then I got really sad and depressed because I dated some guys and they said very negative things about me, and I didn't fight back. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, they're right. I mean, I am kind of damaged. I do have a disability, so they're right. I can't do this and I can't do that. And they were really critical. They really hurt my feelings. And I think about it now, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so incredibly ridiculous. How sad I was. And the thing is, in my heart, I knew that was wrong, but I lost myself. I am the one that allowed people to say negative things to me. I allowed it. And from the article, it says, if you find that you are constantly feeling like you are losing yourself, which I was, it said, consider talking to a therapist. Talking to a professional can help you to resolve your feelings and anxieties towards your illness without any fear of judgment. Making room for illness doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you have tough times or that you're trying to dismiss your emotional state of mind. Instead, by allowing yourself to get help you need and deserve, you're making a positive difference in living and managing an illness. Living with MS and managing it. So my mom is actually a counselor and a therapist. And I've always been really open and honest with her. And she helped me get my life in order again because she saw what a wreck I was. I was depressed, I was sad, I was miserable. I was weak, and I had very low self-esteem because I thought very poorly of myself. So I think that seeing a professional, seeing a therapist or a counselor is incredibly helpful for everyone. The fourth thing in this article, it says, be honest with yourself and the loved ones in your life about your chronic illness. By learning all you can about your illness, you are attempting to figure out your relationship with it. Create a routine where you take time out, whether it is once a week or once a day, to think about what you are experiencing and feeling. You can write things down, close your eyes, and reflect on what you're feeling. Reflect whether you're being proactive or damaging. So I keep daily notes in a journal, and I have it on my nightstand, and it really helps because I track how I am feeling on a daily basis, both physically and mentally. So just writing down my feelings is very therapeutic. You can also sit and talk to loved ones about how you are feeling and what you're experiencing so that they're not in the dark. By taking the time to recognize feelings and emotions, you are another step another step in the right direction towards incorporating chronic illness in your daily life. I try to explain things to people, like my coworkers. I try to explain, this is what it feels like, or tell my family, like, this is what this feels like. Or when I stand for too long, my legs, it feels like pins and needles. It feels like my legs are burning. They're on fire. And it helps them understand how I'm feeling, why I can or cannot do something. So the fifth thing in this article, it talks about changing your perspective. You can't make room for chronic illness in your life if you're not willing to change your perspective about it. You may not control some aspects of your illness, but you can change your point of view about it. And I have learned to accept that I am living with multiple sclerosis, and I have become much stronger and an absolutely fearless person. Someone that I never thought was even possible. And I look at it from a totally different perspective. I finally stopped focusing on finding a husband because that's ridiculous. And it's like when I did that, I became incredibly happy. And I stopped worrying about what other people thought of me. And I started focusing on my own happiness. I count my blessings, and I thank God every day for what I do have in my life. And I am so grateful for what I can accomplish. So if I'm willing to change how I feel about living with a chronic illness, I can work with it in a positive manner, rather than fight against it in an unconstructive way. I've learned to accept the fact that I'm living with multiple sclerosis, and I've become a much stronger, like I said, and an absolutely fearless person that I never thought was even possible. I've accepted it because it's an incurable condition, so I better make it the best of my life in order to live a very happy life. And I do have a very happy life, and I'm very grateful. So thank you all. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.